Northwest Liberty News, picking the lock on the shackles of tyranny.
Machines are going to fail, and the system's going to fail.
The past is past, the future's now.
Don't look at me. I think these people are completely nuts.
Sometimes trouble just follows a man.
There is another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern. Do you know what it is? A virus.
Can't you stop your lips from flapping for 2 little minutes?
It's because I'm white.
I'm a man. I'm sensitive. I need to feel loved. I need to be desired.
I'm rapidly becoming a big underground success in this town.
Well, it's a question of methods. Everybody wants results, but nobody wants to do what they have to do to get them done.
And now, coming to you live from Kalispell, Montana, brought to you by Northwest Liberty News, it's Montana Gazette Radio with your host, James White. Okay, so I'm your host, James White. This is Montana Gazette Radio. Thanks so much for joining me here today on the show on this 24th day of February 2021. And we are coming to you live from the last best place on earth, Kalispell, Montana, or at least that's what they say. It's pretty cool here. I don't know if it's the last best place on earth. I haven't been to all the other places on earth to compare it. It's pretty nice here. I can tell you that much, sure, especially in the summertime. That's for sure. Again, we thank you so much for joining us here today. We're going to be fairly brief today. We got a longer show coming up here at 10 a.m. With Bart Crabtree and Janae Weber. We're going to talk about judicial reform. There's some excellent bills here going through Montana, CPS bills, and other things we're going to cover today briefly. But we're going to have Dennis Lenz on tomorrow, this same time, to talk about all the bills that he's introduced to rein in some sense, the out-of-hand Department of Health and Human Service, DPHHS, and their child kidnapping arm known as the CPS, and whatever town you're in is maybe called something differently. But they're from the work of myself and many others. The truth is coming out that the Child Protective Services is a business. Let's just call it what it is, folks. It's a business. It's a business, a big business. And if you don't believe me, please look all these things up yourself. And I believe that you, like everyone else that looks into it and does the research on Child Protective Services, realize that it's rife with corruption, criminality, trafficking, and kidnapping, amongst many other things. So money laundering, of course, kickbacks. It's like a mafia. At any rate, that's not what the conversation's about today on this broadcast. We'll be talking about that and other things the next broadcast and tomorrow. Check on these same stations here, and you'll find the 10 o'clock broadcast on critical disclosure. In the meantime, thanks so much for joining us here. We're going to be covering Montana news here pretty much exclusively today. And more importantly, we're going to be covering some of the bills here that are coming up. I think today is these internet bills from Little Shell and Galloway are going to be, I think there's going to be a hearing on them today. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop right over here to these bills, and we're going to roll through these. And my suggestion to you, if you're certainly in Montana, to make the call. You can go on the legislative website, which is what I'm on here now, leg.mt.gov, leg.mt.gov. And you can get all of the bills, and you can put them in by the names of the bills, put them in by the names of the legislator who introduced the bills or the sponsor, that type of thing. So let's, without delay, let's go right over here to the website and check out some of these bills. Wrong bill or wrong. It's actually the wrong. That's the wrong website. So we have to. I don't know how that got in there, but what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bear with me while I bring up the other website here and kill this other one here and bring the other one up. So there we go. 1 second. We'll be here in 1 second, and bear with me. Da, 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 da. I should play some, if I can play some music in the background, I would, but I can't. And I'm looking for this. There we go, right there. All right. Okay, here is the Montana legislative website here and the information contained therein. And we're going to be covering these bills specifically here today. Okay, first bill here, Lola Sheldon Galloway. This is the Prohibit Censorship by Social Media Site Providers. Folks, this is big stuff. I mean, all across the country, including here in Montana, what they're doing is they're honing in on the big tech censorship, and they're trying to pass laws to curb it. So Montana, they're doing the same thing here, and we're delighted to highlight these first three bills here are going to be game changers. Okay, the first one here, as I stated, this is HB 587. HB 587. This has a hearing, I believe, today, this afternoon. It's today, the 24th, it is. So there's a hearing today for the Energy, Technology, and Federal Relations Committee, and I think Derek Skees chairs that committee, I believe. But there is a hearing today, and here is the, as we drill down here, here is the actual language of the bill in the PDF. I'll make sure that's the right one, 3322. Yeah, it is. Okay. I checked this beforehand, but a bill for an act entitled An Act Prohibiting Censorship by Social Media Site Providers, providing for a civil cause of action against a social media site that censors speech, allowing an interactive computer service provider to limit content explicitly through the provider's terms of service, authorizing the award of treble damages, punitive damages, costs, and attorney's fees, and providing definitions. This is the first of three bills we're going to be looking at here that's internet censorship related. This is, again, by Lola Sheldon Galloway. Another bill by Lola Sheldon Galloway here, HB 597. HB 597, the short title is Revised Laws Regarding Big Technology and Communications Corporations. This also has a hearing today. In front of the Energy, Technology, and Federal Relations Committee. So you can, and I would certainly encourage you, if you're in Montana, I think you can zoom right in. You can zoom right in there, and you can participate in that meeting. Also, if you go to MontanaDailyGazette.com, I believe the very top article there on the left-hand side is about that, about zooming in, about tuning in on Zoom to get to these meetings so you can testify. Have your voice heard, folks. This is what we have to do, right? We have to have our voice heard from all across the state. And again, as I've talked about on this show, one of the good and bad things about the whole coronavirus stuff that's been going on is that now Zoom is a much more widely used tool, whether good or bad. But the good side is it's certainly allowing more people to participate in the process than would have ever participated before. So that's the good side. That's the good side of all that. All right, let's get back to these bills here because, like I said, I have a longer show at 10 o'clock. We're going to cover the CPS. There's 4 or 5 CPS bills here that are being introduced that we're going to cover. And so we're going to have Bart Crabtree and Janae Weber for the Montana Council on Judicial Accountability. That's not the exact name, but basically that's what they do. They call for judicial accountability, which we do as well, and we're happy to highlight that. Okay, so getting back here is the revised laws regarding big technology communications corporations, and the text of that is a bill for an act entitled An Act Providing for the Regulation of a Big Technology Communication Corporation by the Public Service Commission, defining a big technology communication corporation, providing the commission the authority to fine a big technology communication corporation for refusing or postponing a message, creating the blind and visually impaired library account, directing fines to be used for the provision of library services and resources for blind and visually impaired Montana citizens, and providing rulemaking authority. So it sounds like they're going to be directing some fines here towards the library services for the blind and visually impaired. So if you're gonna collect money from these these tech oligarchs, you might as well put it to good use, right? Helping, putting money into the blind people's, the people that are blind, their studies, and visually impaired, the ability for them to read is a good thing. Okay, as long as it's, of course, like anything else, as long as it's spent properly and not, funneled into somebody else's, summer home or something like that. Yeah, just saying. Okay, the next bill here by Brad Cheetah, HB 573. This is to expand the role of the Public Service Commission to oversee the operation of internet tech companies. So here's one more. The first two bills were tech related. This is one more tech related bill by Brad Cheetah, HB 573. And let's look at the language of that one. A bill for an act entitled An Act Providing for Public Service Commission Regulation of Access Software Providers, prohibiting censorship, providing for complaint procedures, providing penalties, providing rulemaking authority, providing definitions, amending Section 69-102 of the Montana Code Annotated, and providing an immediate effective date. So the triple header, back-to-back bills here against the big tech company. I wouldn't say against the big tech company, more or less for the folks and for, freedom of speech. So that, I probably should couch that differently and say it's for the folks so we can get, you have to go in again about how many conservatives have been shadow banned and kicked off platforms and wide variety of things. I mean, we know this, right? We know this. So if we can put these tech companies in line and act appropriately like they should, this is what we need to do, and the legislature is the way to do it. So I'm delighted that all of these bills are moving forward. Okay, so let's look once again here for Brad Cheetah, Protecting Children on the Internet Act. Brad Cheetah again, HB 492. That's HB 492. Let's look at the text of that. An act establishing the Protecting Children on the Internet Act, requiring consumers to choose whether to receive hardcore pornography over the internet, requiring internet service providers to offer internet service that does not contain hardcore pornography, providing definitions, and providing an effective date. There you go. This is another freedom of choice type of a bill where if you don't want to participate in an organization that pipes, hardcore pornography across the internet, you're going to have choice. Isn't that what's about, having choices? And I think this is a good thing. Okay, so let's move here to the next one. SB 108, and again, I'm rushing here, folks, because I got a 10 o'clock show coming up here, and I've got to change the whole format here to do that on the software. And it won't take too long, but I still need the time to do it. At any rate, SB 108, Senate Bill 108. The short title is Authorize Elected Official Approval of City Council Health Board Rules. Now, the next series of bills that we're going to discuss here, I'm going to discuss with you, are all related, I believe, to the out-of-control health boards that have had dictatorial powers when really the powers should be in the hands of the legislature, because they're the ones that make the laws and create the laws. And, they send them to the governor, and the governor signs them or doesn't sign them. And then they go into by default if he doesn't sign them or address them. So these next set of bills here are going to be in response to the tactics used by some of these health officers in these counties that I believe were not constitutional. And obviously, many people in the legislature thought that as well, because they came out with a whole bunch of different, 4 or 5 here I'll show you to help combat that. So the first one is authorize elected official approval of a city council health board. The text of that is, look at all these people that have introduced it here. Look how many people are signed. That's a really good sign right there. When you see this many legislators signing on to a bill, this is a good thing, right? This is good. An act generally revising laws related to local boards of health, requiring that certain rules, regulations, and fees be approved by the governing body, requiring that the governing body approve the powers and duties of a local board of health, removing penalties for a law enforcement officer who does not render service to a state or local health officer, allowing a local board of health to issue orders and bring actions for noncompliance with approval of a governing body, providing a definition. Okay, so This is important here, right? Removing penalties for a law enforcement officer who does not render service to a state or local health officer. Now, we had Jesse Slaughter on the broadcast a couple of different times, and that subject got brought up. There was a guest judge that was in from, I think, Missoula. Somebody got put in jail. I think it was for contempt, not for not wearing a mask. But at any rate, they were there was some call, actually some talk if Sheriff Slaughter did not conduct his duties and follow what was required of him and arrest people, there may be some penalties for him for not following, So basically, that's one of the things in that bill right there is going to clear that up. And that, again, is SB 108. SB means Senate bill. HB, of course, means House bill. That's SB 108. So that's it right there. Let's move to the next one. This is HB 121. HB 121, the short title, require elected official approval of local health board and officer actions. Again, in response to these, to the health board, a bill for an act revising laws related to local boards of health, requiring that certain rules, regulations, and fees be proposed by a local board of health and adopted by a governing body. Now, I don't know some of these bills who, the people that have actually, some of the people that have introduced these bills, I don't know very well. I haven't had them on my show or talked to them very often. So, I just don't have their history or their background. I'm just going to read the laws to you for what they've put out. And my assumption is that these bills here are all going to be pro freedom and pro liberty. If they're not, then we're going to call them out for that. But my thought is in these bills here, and again, I haven't had a chance to look. There's so many of them. Haven't had a chance to look all of them over. However, these are the ones listed on Montana Daily Gazette, so I'm sure that the publisher wouldn't have listed these bills without them being proper bills for us to highlight. Okay, so let's go here to this right here. This is an act revising laws related to local boards of health requiring certain rules and regulations. We read that already. Let's go on to the next one here. Next bill is HB 122, revising state disaster and emergency services and executive power. So the text of that bill, an act revising disaster and emergency services, providing for a legislative polling process by the Secretary of State to extend a governor's declaration of emergency or disaster, expediting the special session polling process during a disaster or emergency declaration, limiting the duration of a governor's declaration of disaster or emergency, eliminating a continuing disaster or emergency based on actions of the President of the United States, expanding legislative authority and involvement during a disaster or emergency, providing for termination of statutory appropriation during a disaster or emergency by joint resolution. So yeah, this is good. We don't want to be, despite whatever crooked president may be in office at any given time, we still have the ability to not have to listen to him. Matt Regier, HB 230, generally revised emergency and disaster laws. Again, folks, we're whipping through these really quick because I got another show coming up here just in a little while. But I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's take a quick break here, and let's take a quick break. We'll come back here. We'll talk about this bill, HB 230. Give some love to our sponsors, and we'll be back here after these brief messages here on Montana Gazette Radio. You can visit us at montanagazetteradio.com, montanadailygazette.com, or of course the flagship northwestlibertynews.com. We'll be back after these brief messages. If you like classic cars, exceptional service, and a money-back guarantee, then the Corner Shop in beautiful downtown Kalispell is the place for you. Whether it's an oil change, engine diagnostic, suspension work, or brakes all around, the Corner Shop has you covered. With expert technicians and a free consultation on all services, you can't go wrong with the Corner Shop. Did I mention the classic cars? While you're waiting for your expert service to be performed, take a stroll through the showroom to see Kalispell's smoothest collection of classic cars. The Corner Shop is conveniently located at 1212 South Main, just south of the courthouse. The Corner Shop is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., so drop by for an appointment or call 755-7777. That's 755-7777. The Corner Shop, Kalispell's full-service auto repair facility. Hi, this video is brought to you by PatriotPrepared.com, where right now you can save $250 on each large package purchase, plus get free shipping to the continental United States. In these troubled times, it's not a bad idea to have some extra food storage available, and you can save big at Patriot Prepared right now. Go to patriotprepared.com, that's patriotprepared.com, and use the code TRUMP250 at checkout to receive your savings today. Okay, folks, thanks for hanging on after the break. We have another sponsor that we're going to be highlighting here. As a matter of fact, it's so new that I don't even remember the name, but it's this air purification machine. It's not like it sucks air in and purifies it. It actually puts out purification particles and seeks down the diseases and kills it on all different surfaces. I wish I remember the name of it, but I'll try to. I watched a little video on it yesterday, and it's amazing. It kills like 99.99% of all germs in like 3 minutes within a certain proximity, and then 3,000 square feet within 30 minutes. It's NASA technology, future technology. It's won a bunch of awards and everything. It's incredible. Anyway, we'll be talking about that as soon as I kind of get my mind around it, and I'm going to research it a little bit more, but incredible stuff. Anyway, we're going to be bringing that to you and much more here on the show. Please support our sponsors. They're scrolling across the bottom of the screen, or you can go to northwestlibertynews.com and support us that way. Okay, we're going to get back over to the bills here and finish out here real quick. Hopefully we can finish here in about 10 minutes. So let me pop on over here. I was here at Bill HB 230. This is generally revised emergency and disaster laws. So let's look into that here and see. An act generally revising emergency and disaster laws, limiting the length of time for a martial rule, a declared emergency, or a declared disaster without legislative approval. Providing for an expedited legislative poll to affirm, extend, revise, or terminate the governor's emergency powers. Providing for religious freedom and preventing the quarantine of healthy individuals during an emergency or disaster. Bravo. Bravo, Matt Regier, for putting that out. I agree with just about every line of that bill there, and let's hope and pray that this gets passed. I don't know. Some of these are at different levels here, and I have to look at when this is. Let's go back here and look here. Okay, so there's amendments. There was a hearing, and then there's amendment. They're doing the amendments right now. I can show you too. The hearing was a couple days ago, so doing the amendments here. So they're probably going to bring this back up again. I think that's excellent. Again, are we run by a dictator? Does the governor have dictatorial powers where they can just make sweeping proclamations across the country or across the state? Listen, that's not really what they're there for. The legislatures are your local legislators are the one that makes the laws, and the legislature is the ones that whose responsibility and whose lap that responsibility should fall into. And these are excellent for that. Okay, so there's one more. Again, revise. This is from Matt Regier again, HB 236. Revise local health board and health officer powers, duties, and penalties. There was a hearing on the 22nd, so I don't know where it's at right now. Excuse me, non-tabled. So it's non-tabled, so it's still out. And the text of this bill says basically, an act generally revising laws related to public health, revising laws related to local boards of health, requiring that certain powers and duties of a local board of health must occur without objection from a local governing body, clarifying actions of a local board of health that must be approved by a local governing body, revising penalties provided for a person or business owner who violates rules adopted by a local board of health or the department, removing the penalty for a law enforcement officer who does not render aid to a local board of health officer, providing and revising definitions. So this is similar to the one we heard before, where they don't handcuff the county sheriff to do the right thing. And if you are not sure about the county sheriff and their importance, research. You can go to Northwest Liberty News, look up all of the different interviews I've done with Richard Mack. I think I just had Sheriff Mack on last week or 2 weeks ago with Sheriff Jesse Slaughter, both on the same time. The constitutional sheriff is the last line of defense to protect us against unlawful local, state, and federal government. And we really need to support those folks. Their convention's coming up here this weekend. And I'm going to reach out to Jesse Slaughter. Maybe I can get him on the air this weekend while he's at the actual convention itself. I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend, I believe. I was invited to go, and I just didn't go. I have so much that's going on. New show starting here on Monday. Got a new broadcast starting here Monday, and we're just so much going on with that. Just no way to take off out of town. But that's it for us today, folks. Here we're coming back here in about 20 minutes with Critical Disclosure live, and we'll have Bart Crabtree and Janae Weber on with us, and we'll be talking about judicial accountability and other things. So we appreciate you tuning in. Thanks so much for looking in today here on this abbreviated broadcast. We'll be back again in about 20 minutes with our next offering. And support us again at MontanaGazetteRadio.com or the flagship NorthwestLibertyNews.com. And until next time, this is James White from Northwest Liberty News saying bye now.